So I've been ready for an album like this from this band. I have been pleading and waiting, and I am so glad that it finally came. So let's dive in. The Crucible by Motorpsycho. So Motorpsycho, they are a very, very interesting band and one that I really, really like. They got their start in the early 90s in Norway. They're kind of labeled as eclectic prog, but I find they're much more of like a heavy prog, much more of like a heavy rock. These guys kind of did how do I even describe them? Very art focused, very heavy focused, kind of taking what rock was in the 70s and 90s and just pushing that forward in a progressive rock tendency. I fell in love with them in their 2012 release of The Undying Unicorn. That album still gives me chills. My favorite track is actually from their 2010 release of Heavy Metal Fruit with Gulliby's Travels. From there, they've been kind of, I don't know, like every album that they've released since then have had one or two moments that really, really make me gush and really, really make me stop and think, wow, they're really doing that with music. There was also a lot of shifting that you had to do to get to those moments. And unfortunately, with their last release of The Tower in 2017, I didn't all feel that excited about it. I didn't there wasn't that moment that I was waiting for on this album. I did feel like it was a great time and some great music on it, but at no point did I really feel all that excitable about the music that I was hearing, if you know what I mean. So fast forward from 2017 to 2019 with The Crucible. And this album only has 3 tracks on it. So right off the get-go, I'm excited. It is a perfect album in terms of structure. We have 2 relatively shorter tracks amounting to about 18 minutes worth of music, maybe 19, about 19 to 20 minutes. And then the third track is a full side song of 20 minutes and 52 seconds. Perfect. Just mwah. We've got, oh boy, how am I even, Psychozar and Lux Eterna, Lux Eterna. The first 2 tracks on there. Psychozar being this relentless, heavy, very guitar-led, Mellotron focus, just insanity. And what I love about this band and this album in particular is all 3 members. We've got Brent, Hans, and Thomas. I'm not even going to try to pronounce their last names here. All 3 of them are singing in some respects. They're harmonizing with one another, very rough and guttural harmonization. Half the times they're yelling, half the times they're in this very soothing coo. And Psychozar really runs the gamut in terms of emotions in that sense. But it starts off very heavy. Those guitars, mellotrons, and drums are just fighting for prominence on this track. And I love how relentless it is. Which is a great contrast to Lux Eterna. Yeah, I'm going to stick to that. Where this one is much more soft. It's a lot more somber. And this was one of the moments where I have that gushing, that tickle down the back of my spine there, where within the main chorus of this, those mellotrons really seep in and really get right into your bones. And it's that juxtaposition between that heavy harshness of the first track and even the heavy harshness that we have within the midpoint of this track, where it switches almost into this Van der Graaf generator territory with so prominent different mellotrons that are played by Brent and Thomas kind of overlaying on top of one another. It's chaotic. It does feel a little bit like a ripoff of some things that we've heard from Van der Graaf generator, and it does remove me a little bit because there is a part of me that's just okay, what are we paying homage to and what are we kind of ripping off? But when that ends off, we have this beautiful soaring guitar work. And just when you think the song is over, they reuse that same theme that we have within that chorus work, and it just brings it all back home. And then we come to the big track, The Crucible, the 20-minute epic. Really, really enjoy my time on this track. It does run the gamut of the 2. I love how within the first 2 tracks, it kind of takes a look at the different styles of the heavy, hard, unrelenting, just crazy, and then the very soft and soothing and melodic and very well structured and crafted music. And then from there, the Crucible combines the two, and I love my time within the Crucible. Although I do think that Lux Tenera is probably my favorite track off of this album, but I do love the Crucible. My only issue with the Crucible, though, is that there is a lot of wandering and not a whole lot of perch that's found on this. I do feel as though I'm wandering the wilderness. We still have a lot of that battling guitars and meeting with those heavenly mellotrons, and the blending of the two styles are very, very well constructed and very well done. And they're playing within this jazzy jam session, but I also feel like the big grand finale of this track, I wanted it to be pushed a little bit more. Like, this big final playout starts at about the 17-minute mark, and it only lasts for about 2 to 3 minutes. I really wish they pushed it on to maybe another minute or so to really hammer home this final moment on this album. Like, that's the only kind of real drawback about this album. And within this track as well. I feel like there's not a whole lot of perch within the meat of this track to really warrant the length, but on that same token, I'm never bored. I'm never really craving to be out of it. I'm always loving where I'm at. So in that respects, it's really, really well done. So overall, this is probably the strongest work that we've had from Motorpsycho in a very long time. Probably their strongest album to date in terms of a full album. They have done better works in other albums, but those other albums have been full of experiments that haven't quite landed as hard. Like, even though the experiments that are found on this album I feel work very well to its advantage, because we're not staying quite as long in this, it does what it needs to do in wanting more while keeping me satisfied. So yeah, overall, I love this album with my whole heart. How can I not? This one is going to go down as one of my favorite albums of the year. This is one that's got the note seal of approval. This is one where it's run, don't walk to go and listen to this album. Highly, highly recommend it. It gets the full 2 thumbs up. I can't praise it more. And the issues that I have with this album are very, very minimal. Very, very minimal. And it's more of what isn't on this album as opposed to what is on this album. All right, so I think I've rambled on about this album enough. What did you guys think about The Crucible by Motorpsycho? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Whatever your thoughts, let me know of those by commenting down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you guys are let's try that one again. Oh boy. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.